Now that we have an understanding of the graphs of polynomial functions, we're going to use those graphs to write some equations. First thing we need to do is determine what the factors are that are associated with each of the x-intercepts. Then we're going to have to find that lead coefficient using those factors and using an additional point that we know from the graph. And then lastly, we're going to multiply everything. So let's do one. The first one we're going to look at is a quartic function. Remember, quartic means fourth degree. So I'm looking at my graph and I see I have four x-intercepts. There's one here at -3, at -1, at +1, and at +3. So I'm going to write the factors that go with each of those x-intercepts. The factor associated with -3 is going to be x plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and do this one next. The factor associated with this x-intercept at 3 is going to be x minus 3. The factor that goes with the x-intercept of -1 is x plus 1. And the factor associated with this x-intercept at 1 is x minus 1. Remember, when you place that x-intercept into a factor, it should make that factor equal to 0. Okay, the next step that we do, we're going to use this format, y equals a times each of these factors. Okay? Well, I have an ordered pair here, so that I know that when x is equal to 0, y is equal to 18. So I'm going to replace y with 18. Okay, and now then, every place there's an x, I'm going to put 0, because x is equal to 0. So 0 plus 3, 0 minus 3, 0 plus 1, and 0 minus 1. Well, let's see. 0 plus 3 is 3. 0 minus 3 is -3. 0 plus 1 is 1. 0 minus 1 is -1. Now I have 18 equal a times, well, 3 times -3 is -9, times 1 is -9, times -1 is +9. So I have a times 9. Solving for a, the opposite of times 9 is divide by 9, so I'm going to divide each side by 9, and I know that my a value is equal to 18 divided by 9, which is 2. Now then, I'm going to need to multiply out all of my factors, and you'll see why I wrote them in this order. If I do x plus 3 times x minus 3, if you remember from Algebra 1, there's a nice little shortcut for that. I'm going to do x times x, and I get x squared, and then +3 times -3 is -9. When these numbers are the same and it's plus and minus, remember that the outside and the inside always cancel each other out. Same thing here with x plus 1 times x minus 1. When I multiply these two together, I get x squared minus 1. Okay, well now I'm going to have to do a little foiling here. So x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times -1 or -1 is -1x squared. Then I have -9 times x squared, so -9x squared. And -9 times -1 is +9. Okay. I've got some like terms here in the middle that I can combine right there. That's going to become x to the 4th minus 10x squared plus 9. Okay, my last step, excuse me, I got a little stuff down there. My last step is to take this and multiply the whole thing times the a value that I got right here. So I'm going to multiply everything times 2. Okay, so I've got 2 times x to the 4th, which is going to be 2x to the 4th. 2 times minus 10x now becomes minus 20x squared. Forgot to say squared there. And then 2 times 9 gives me a positive 18. So my function is f of x equals 2x to the fourth minus 20x squared plus 18. Let's try one more. This time we're going to do a cubic one. Remember that cubic is third degree. The very first step is to recognize these x-intercepts. So I have one here at negative 2. And I have one here at 1, 2, 3, 4, positive 4. Okay, recall that when the graph just touches down and bounces off of the x-axis, that factor is going to be squared. So the factor associated with this x-intercept is x plus 2, and it's squared because of that bounce. And then the factor associated with this x-intercept at positive 4 will be x minus 4. Okay, I've got this ordered pair. This graph goes to the point 2, 16. So there's my x value and there's my y value. So I'm going to have 16 equals a, my lead coefficient that we're trying to find, times everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put this 2 right here. So 2 plus 2 squared times 2 minus 4. Okay, well 2 plus 2 squared becomes 16. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. 16 times negative 2 is negative 32. So I have 16 equal a times negative 32. Looking for that missing number in multiplication, we're going to divide. Divide by negative 32 on this side. I know that my a value is negative 1/2. You can write it as negative 0.5 if you want. Okay, well now then, next step. I need to multiply out these factors. There's a nice shortcut for x plus 2 squared that I've talked with y'all about, but if you don't remember the shortcut, remember that x plus 2 squared is equal to x plus 2 times x plus 2. Okay, if you need to foil that out the long way, that's okay. But x plus 2 squared is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now then I need to multiply that times x minus 4. Okay. When I set it up this way, I'm going to distribute this multiplication of x to each one of these inside of the first set of parentheses. And I'm going to think of this as negative 4 and multiply negative 4 times each one of these in the parentheses. Okay, so x times x squared is x cubed. X times a positive 4x is plus 4x squared. X times 4 is going to be plus 4x. Now then I have to do this minus 4. Remember, we're thinking of it as negative 4. Negative 4 times x squared is negative 4x squared. Negative 4 times 4x, negative 16x. And negative 4 times positive 4 is going to give me minus 16. Combining like terms, I've got x cubed. 4x squared minus 4x, those cancel each other out. 4x minus 16x is going to give me negative 12x. And then I've got minus 16 on the end. Last step, I'm going to take this a value right here, and I'm going to multiply this whole thing times negative 1/2. Final equation. Negative 1/2 times x cubed is negative 1/2 x cubed. Negative 1/2 times minus 12x or negative 12x is going to give me positive 6x. Negative 1/2 times minus 16 is going to give me plus 8. My final function is f of x equal negative 1/2 x cubed plus 6x plus 8. Notice that with a negative lead coefficient, my graph should be pointing down on the right end, and it certainly does. Make sure you're asking for help in class.